Hey everybody, Jacob Beals is my name, and I have been wanting to make this video for a few weeks now, but life has kind of just gotten in the way, so I'm a little bit behind on this, but hey, we're only like roughly 8 days as of recording this into 2023, so we'll be fine, right? And 2022 had a lot of cool stuff come out in it, and I wanted to talk about some of my favorite things from 2022, the movies, the favorite TV shows, the music that I listened to this year, all in one video. So that's what I'm doing right now. This is my favorite stuff of 2022. Now I'm going to end this video with my top 12 favorite movies of the year. I couldn't just end it on 10. I don't know why. There were so many good ones because movies are like my favorite thing ever. So before we get to the films, we're going to talk about music, TV, video games. And without any further ado, let's talk about my favorite music, what I've been listening to in 2022. I'm a big country music fan, so much in fact it's actually part of my job. And of course I listen to a lot of it at work and everywhere else too, so there's going to be a lot of country on this list of my favorites from 2022. And one guy I think a lot of people have really gotten into in 2022, including myself, is Zach Bryan. And that includes all his music. You know, I've gone back into the past, but specifically this year, American Heartbreak. What a great record. I mean, this album is a long one. It's like over 30 songs. I think it's around 35 or something like that altogether. But if you love this kind of music, if you love Zach Bryan, if you just love good songwriting, good country songs, this album is like spoiling you with great music. Now, the big hit off this album has been Something in the Orange. There's a lot of amazing songs on it, but I think my favorite one actually is maybe a deeper cut from the record, and that's If She Wants a Cowboy. I just think that song is so much fun, and it feels good to hear a country song that kind of you can joke around with and just have a good time with. I feel like I haven't heard a song like that in a really long time. I'm a big Brad Paisley fan, so I love songs like that, and this one reminded me of something like that he would write. And plus, I kind of related to it. You know, I've had crushes on girls and stuff in the past where I felt like I had to change myself. And that's what this song's all about. This guy, he changes himself to become a cowboy so he can impress this girl, but it ends up not working. And then by the end of the song, he's changed himself again. So he didn't learn his lesson in the song, but regardless, American Heartbreak is a great album through and through, with that song and all the others too. Up next, I got Carly Rae Jepsen, and I'm just going to say this. I don't write essays for school. I'm not even in school anymore, but I just don't write essays, period. Because when you leave college, you don't just write essays for fun. But if I was going to write essays, I think one of my topics would be how Carly Rae Jepsen is one of the most overlooked pop artists of like our generation. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Taylor Swift and a lot of other pop artists too, but Carly Rae Jepsen put out something really special this year with The Loneliest Time. And I know the title track on this song has gotten a lot of love from TikTok. It's been a sound. It was one of those sounds you couldn't get away from if you're on TikTok. I'm coming back for you, baby. I'm coming back for you. But that song, let me tell you, it's a jam. It's one of the best pop songs I think I've heard in years, and I love it so much. Every time I listen to it, and the whole album, I just feel good. And to me, that's what pop music should make you do. It should make you feel good. You should get something out of it that makes you happy. And that's what Carly Rae Jepsen's music has always done for me ever since the Call Me Maybe days. Next one we got is another country artist, and I saw this guy actually live this year in Des Moines at Woolies, and his name is Drake Milligan. Some of you might remember him from America's Got Talent. My buddy Richard actually introduced me to Drake, not personally, but you know, his music and stuff. And ever since then, I've been in love with his voice, his style, his music. So thank you to Richard for recommending him to me. But yes, Drake Milligan is so good, and if you ever get the chance to see him live, do it, because he is a performer. But his album is so good. The record is called Dallas Fort Worth, and it is so good. Basically, Drake explained it when I was watching him live, that one side of the album kind of shows more of his country side, and the other side shows more of his rock side. And let me tell you, the whole thing is fun, but it's got those heartbreakers in it too, and it's so beautiful. Sounds Like Something I Do is a song I love. You might have heard it on the radio. It's been a bigger hit lately. I also love Going Down Swinging on the album, but I think my favorite song is Hearts Don't Break Even. That's just a great ballad with an awesome hook, and it's beautiful when you listen to it. It sounds like an epic song. Yeah, Drake Milligan's going to be one I think we're going to be talking about for a long time here in the future. But I think my favorite artist of the year, the person who's put out like my favorite music this year in 2022, and somebody who I feel like is just kind of blown up all over the place in the public eye lately, is Lainey Wilson. Her album Bell Bottom Country is so good. It shows a lot of different sides of her, but her voice is just one I feel like I haven't heard before, and I love listening to it. And she knows how to pack a punch with all of her lyrics and her singing the lyrics. Oh, it's so good. But Heart Like a Truck, of course, that's been one a lot of people know from that album. That one's really good. But I actually love her cover of Hey, What's Going On Bell Bottom Country. That song, when I could like turn it up in the morning when I'm going to work, and I feel like it wakes me up. It's so good. Like easily top 5 favorite covers of all time. I love it. But the whole album is really good. And go back and listen to Lainey's old stuff too if you haven't yet, because it's all really super great. Now let's go to some favorite TV. Now when it comes to TV, I gotta admit, I'm kind of bad at watching it. I'm really slow at watching TV shows. Like a lot of times I'll watch the premiere of something and I won't get caught up till like months later. Like there'll be a day when I'm not doing anything and I'll be like, oh, you know what? I should finish watching this show that started a long time ago on Netflix. Like, for example, I started watching Squid Game a long time ago, and I liked it. I liked what I saw. It was really cool, but I still haven't finished it, and that came out in, like, 2021. But as for the TV I did finish and did fall in love with, here it is. First show I want to mention actually isn't one that came out in 2022, but I fell in love with it this year, and it's one I feel like I gotta mention because it was such a big part of my year, and that's The Detroiters. This stars Tim Robinson and Sam Richardson, who I both love in this show. And now every time I see him in something else, especially Sam Richardson, he's been popping up in a lot of stuff lately. I get so happy because it reminds me of The Detroiters. This show is so funny. And unfortunately, it was canceled after just a couple seasons. But I wish they would bring it back. Hopefully somebody will pick it up because Tim Robinson's been really popular lately. And another show... and that, of course, is I Think You Should Leave, the skit show on Netflix. A lot more people have been watching this, and it's got this really cool following online. You know, I feel like when I watch this show, I'm a part of a really big inside joke because it's so funny. It's so unique. You have to watch it to get some of these jokes because some of them are so weird in it, but it is so good. If you haven't seen I Think You Should Leave, you need to. A friend at work got me into this show, and it's one of my favorite sketch shows ever. Like, sketches on this show are ones I'm going to remember forever for like the rest of my life. It is so good. I also have fallen in love with Abbott Elementary this year. This is a great show. If you love things like The Office and Parks and Rec like I do, you're going to love Abbott Elementary because it's basically that kind of same show, but set in a school, and that adds like a whole nother element to this kind of film or TV show. Also, the kids in this really crack me up. Like, sometimes they'll come up and say something random or they'll throw something really funny and unique into the plot that you might not get with another TV show like The Office. But the group of teachers in this are great. They're funny. They all got their great quirks, kind of like those other shows I mentioned. So it makes it really fun to watch. And it's really heartfelt too. This is a show I can watch and just love because it makes me feel good. Kind of like some of my other favorite comedy shows do. But I think my favorite show of the year, and this is like my favorite show every time a new season comes out, and that's Stranger Things 4. Now, remember how I said I'm really bad at watching TV shows and I get really behind? Stranger Things is like the complete opposite of that for me. I watch these episodes as soon as I can. Now let's talk video games. When it comes to video games, I'm similar like I am with TV. I'm kind of bad at playing them consistently, especially since I've gotten older. It's so hard to find times to play video games, but when I do, I still really enjoy them very much. And I think it'll be something I always love because I see video games just as another art form, just like music or movies or TV. They make me happy. And even though I run out of time and I don't get to play them as much as I do, I still love them so much. But as for 2022, some of the games I did get to play, here are my favorites. I got a few. Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. Yeah, this is pretty much the most epic Lego game ever made. I grew up playing Lego games, and this one is awesome. I still feel like I haven't scratched the surface with this. I played it some, but I want to play it more, but it's such a fun open world Lego game. It's amazing. If you love Star Wars, if you love Lego Star Wars games, this game is like your holy grail. It's so cool. Another one, Sonic Frontiers. Now, I love Sonic games, and you know, Sonic can be kind of up and down with his games. He can make a great one, then he'll come out with one that's absolutely awful. Thankfully, this is one of the great ones. This game is amazing. Kind of reinvents some stuff in the Sonic universe, gaming universe at least, and takes some gameplay elements from things like Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Galaxy, but implements it in its own way. And it's pretty cool. It works really well for Sonic, and the level design and everything in this is really beautiful too. I love it. And finally, one of my favorite racing series of all time. I'm a big race fan and I love racing video games. Gran Turismo 7. I adore all these games that I've played. Gran Turismo 5 was one of my favorites on the PS3. I played that one for hours. But this one, it's not as good as Gran Turismo 5. I don't think it's quite on that level. Maybe that's some nostalgia for me, why I like that one so much too. But this game is close to that. It's really good. The graphics are amazing. When you drive it, you really feel like you're driving a car. You're racing these cars, just like all the others. It's so fun. I could play Gran Turismo games forever. I hope they keep releasing them forever because we need great racing games like this. And yeah, it's awesome. In fact, in 2023, I guess a Gran Turismo movie is coming out. I don't know how that's going to work, but if it's Gran Turismo, I'll be there. And I think David Harbour is in it too. So some of my Stranger Things love kind of connects into that. So I'm looking forward to the Gran Turismo movie. And now let's go to my top 12 favorite movies of the year. Now, I make the movie section big because it's like one of my favorite things, and I have a lot to say when it comes to movies, and this list was hard to narrow down, but I got it together, I think, finally. There's some that it pained me to leave off, but here we go. Without any further ado, my top 12 movies. I'm going to try to run through these kind of quick. Coming in at number 12, I have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This movie, obviously coming off of a lot of really emotional stuff that happened in real life with Chadwick Boseman, I thought handled things really, really well. But even as a film, it deals a lot with grief and a lot of real world stuff that we go on with personally in our lives. And I just really love it that a Marvel movie was digging into that some. And it felt like this movie was even deeper than I expected. I didn't expect it to go into my heart and soul as much as it did, but it really did, and I love this sequel so much. Number 11, I got a movie we've been waiting on for a long time, and we finally got it this year, and that's Avatar: The Way of the Water. This was a really cool sequel. If you like the first Avatar, I think you'll like this one too. I think I liked it on the same level as the first one, but let me tell you, some of the water shots, the whales, the water animals, and the other tribe of the Na'vi, the place they live, oh, it's so beautiful. It looked amazing, and I'm so glad I saw it in 3D. Definitely one of my favorite theater-going viewing experiences of the year. It's a cool movie. Like I said, on par with the first one for me. Number 10, one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time, and probably the movie that made me laugh the most this year, and that's Weird, the Al Yankovic story. The idea of making a movie about yourself and just say, hey, I'm just going to make up stuff. That is genius to me. And this movie is hilarious. I grew up a Weird Al fan. In fact, I'm going to post this video on YouTube. One of the things that got me into YouTube in the first place was Weird Al and his great songs. And you get to see these fake made up like stories behind these songs. And I love it so much. This movie's hilarious. Number 9, a movie that I was excited to see, but I can't believe it made me smile and as happy as it did. And that's The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. The most Nick Cage of all Nicolas Cage movies. It was so good. Him and Pedro Pascal are amazing in this. It's great action. It's really funny. But like I say, this movie will make your heart happy. At least it did for me. It's definitely a feel-good film for myself. Number 8, we got Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I'm a lifelong Shrek fan. I grew up with those movies. And the first 2 Shreks are a couple of my all-time favorites. But this one, let me tell you, it got pretty darn close to surpassing those 2. It is so good. There's no reason a sequel spinoff at that, should be as good as this movie does, but it's great. It's funny. Puss in Boots is charming. It's got great action. The animation is beautiful, and it deals with a lot of things we deal with in life. Things like anxiety, running out of time with life. There are some really deep subjects in this film that it covers really good, and the villain, top 3 DreamWorks villains of all time. He was so great. And I cannot wait for the next Shrek or Puss in Boots or whatever they're going to do next. But this as a standalone thing was perfect. I loved it. Number 7, Cha Cha Real Smooth. I saw this one on Apple TV+. And let me tell you, this is a great movie. I feel like it's kind of gone under a lot of people's radars. But this was an awesome coming-of-age story about a time period I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, and that's kind of like the post-college period for people. As a 20-something, I really related to this movie because sometimes after I got out of college, there were things I was confused on, like especially with my social life, and this movie tackles that, and it does it really well. Plus, it's just a really heartwarming story that'll make you smile. I love the relationship between the three main characters in this movie. It's so good, so well done, but it'll pull out your heartstrings as well. Number 6 is The Batman. I love this iteration of Batman. It's so good. It feels like a David Fincher movie, but as a Batman film, and I just dig the heck out of that. It's dark. It's cool. I think this is my favorite version of Gotham we've seen in a live action movie. It just feels like scary and droomy, and I love that. I think I said droomy. I meant to say dreary. But yes, The Batman, it's an awesome, awesome movie. I can't wait for The Batman 2 because I want to see Robert Pattinson play this character again. He was so good. Number 5, we have Nope, my favorite horror film of 2022. This movie is creepy, but it also is very deep in some of its subject matter. But one thing that really got me is how it kind of pays tribute to some other movies, especially in the final moments of this film. You might see some resemblance to Jaws, and I thought that was just genius. But on top of all that, it's suspenseful, it's scary. It took me on one heck of a ride. There's even, like, I think he's an orangutan. What was his name? Gordy. He's scary in this movie, in these flashback scenes. If you haven't seen it, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But I really like Jordan Peele's Nope. I think it's my favorite Jordan Peele movie. I think that's unpopular to say, but I loved Nope, and it's going to be one I'm revisiting for years because the suspense is off the charts, and it's just a movie that made me want to clap at the end of it. It was so good. Number 4, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I think lots of people love this movie, but it's a great multiverse story, one of the best, in fact. It's, even though it's just kind of about a normal person, it works out so well. And when I watched this movie, I went through so many emotions the first time I saw it. I wanted to cry. I laughed. I cheered. It was one of the greatest theater going experiences I've ever had just because of how unique it was. Like, I've never been in an audience that didn't know how to react to a movie. And with this one, you could hear that with the audience. There were times where they're like, I don't really know what to do, but I know I'm supposed to react to this scene. It's genius. This is a movie I can see them talking about for years because of how innovative it is. And plus, I've never felt like I have while watching Everything Everywhere All at Once. Also, shout out to Ke Huy Quan. The short round comeback, it's upon us, guys. And I'm here for it. Number 3 is quite possibly one of the greatest sequels I've ever seen in my life, and that is Top Gun Maverick. I don't know if I've ever wanted to cheer after a movie as much as I did Top Gun Maverick. This film was exhilarating in every sense of that word. I think that's the perfect way to describe it, in fact. Exhilarating, accelerating. It was amazing. One of the greatest times I've had at the theater in 2022. Speaking of great sequels, number 2, I got Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. I love the first Knives Out. This was just another great mystery. It was awesome. It was funny. It was charming. And it had my head spinning in knots just like the first one. And I love Benoit Blanc. I can't do his voice very well, but he is amazing. I'm sorry. I tried to do a southern accent off there, and it didn't sound very good. But I love Benoit Blanc. I could watch him go on mysteries forever. I hope he does. And this is just another example. They're 2 for 2, in my opinion, with these movies. So good. And number 1, guys, you're going to be so mad at me because I'm cheating. I put 2 as a tie in my number 1 because I couldn't decide. I'm sorry. I love both these movies so much, but for different ways. And I just have to mention them both as my number 1. At some point, I'll decide which one's my number 1 and which one's my number 2, probably after I rewatch them again. But for now, my number 1 spots go to Vengeance and The Fabelmans. Vengeance is a great movie. I saw it over the summer, and I actually got invited to a screener to go to this. I'd never been to one of those before, but it was really cool, and I always have that memory attached to that for this movie. But on top of that, it's just really good. Like, if you're looking for a good mystery that is really heartfelt and funny at the same time, Vengeance is that for you. I know that sounds weird to say a movie with a murder in it is really heartfelt. But this movie, it really pulled at my heartstrings. It got me thinking about a lot of things, especially when it comes to our life kind of socially in America. There's been no question there's been a divide in America, especially the last few years. And I think this movie tackles that idea really, really well. But on top of all that, besides all the social commentary and stuff, this is just a really good movie. It made me think. It stuck with me. It made me happy at the end of it too. Like, it made me kind of rethink some things in my own life. And when a movie can do that, you know it's doing something right. So if you're looking for a mystery that is just going to pull at your heartstrings and it's just really good, Vengeance is for you. BJ Novak is amazing in this movie, by the way. He directed it and he wrote it too, I believe. But just him starring in this film, this was like a role that was written perfectly for him. And Ashton Kutcher is really good in this movie. Like, I like Ashton Kutcher. I love him. He's a fellow Iowa boy like me. But this is my favorite Ashton Kutcher performance. He is so good in this film. And unfortunately, I think it's a movie that's been flying under a lot of people's radars. So if you haven't seen it, please watch it. It is so good. And my other number one goes to The Fabelmans. Like a lot of people, I'm a lifelong Steven Spielberg fan. I adore his films so much. He's my favorite director of all time. And this movie is kind of a love letter to his love for film. Obviously, this movie is based off his life kind of loosely, but you definitely get some really good glimpses into how his life was growing up. And it's a coming-of-age story about the most iconic director of all time, and it's just so good. I felt so many emotions while watching this. Of course, it was fun to see all of his references to some of his other movies. Like, you kind of saw like glimpses of his own childhood that reflected movies like E.T. or Saving Private Ryan or Indiana Jones. And that made my heart happy, but it just made me heartbroken, and it made me laugh, and all these other feelings just to see an inside picture of what his family was like. And I love this movie because of that. We got to see a glimpse of one of the greatest directors who's ever lived, and somebody who's definitely made an impact on my life. And just to see that on screen is something I'll treasure forever. And that's it for my favorite stuff of 2022. It was a really good year for things that came out, things that brought me a lot of joy. And I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. We got a lot of great stuff to look forward to in 2023 as well. New Indiana Jones movie. I'm excited for that beyond belief. Also, lots of great Marvel movies. The Mandalorian's back when it comes to TV, and so much other stuff. Stuff I probably don't even know is coming out later this year that I'm going to love by the end of it. That's an amazing feeling to me when you know something's on the horizon, but you don't know what it is, but it's something you're going to enjoy. And that's it for my 2022 countdown. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye, everybody.